So we're just going to get into this video, okay? Where essentially we've been seeing an uptick really since Louis DeJoy has been postmaster. We've been seeing an uptick in letter carriers, whether you're a rural carrier, city carrier, whatever, getting robbed. Some even killed too for their arrow keys. For people who don't know, the arrow key is essentially the master key that gets into all the mailboxes. That just is what it is. And people are taking those keys so obviously they could then steal whatever mail may be in their new credit card, new debit card, social security checks, tax returns, whatever maybe you got, I don't know, whatever it is that you got. They try to get some money out of you. Okay. So that's what's going on. All right. This annoys me because when you think about it, the Postal Service has postal inspectors, which essentially are your cops for the mail. They don't just figure out, the mail fraud or wire fraud. They actually can be stationed in certain areas that are high in crime to try to prevent crime from happening. Like how you have cops that are just all over the place. Why are they not there? And I'm not blaming the inspectors themselves. Obviously, you have to be given that assignment. If you're not giving said assignment, why and how would you know to even go there? So I just feel like you have an overall just failure of leadership in regards to this, and it's putting people's lives in danger. Okay, you have people who are getting robbed, you have people who are getting beat up, you have people who are getting murdered over these keys, even when they willingly hand them over. They're getting robbed of their own personal belongings because, of course, people are going to bring their stuff in the car with them. If they have a phone, they're not going to leave it at the station. They're going to bring it with them. They have a wallet, they're not going to leave it in the station. They're going to bring it with them, more than likely. So this is the kind of stuff that's going on. And you're seeing more and more of it. So not only do you have to worry about, okay, let me get all this mail organized. Let me, have to worry about being safe out on the road. Let me have to deal with the managers who make me want to give them a 1-2, okay? People are idiots and they just let their dogs go and attack people and they think it's perfectly fine. Now I gotta worry about that. Now they gotta worry about getting robbed. Really? And then we're gonna get into that's a whole nother video. Okay, I was gonna talk about delaying the mail, but that's a whole nother video. But people shouldn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Okay. If I just want to go, it's like, this is delivering mail. This is not a police officer job. So people should not have to be fearful of their life just to go and deliver some dang mail, okay? Then you got wackos want to pull up. Then you got to deal with the regular customers. Wackos want to come up to you. Man, you almost done. You almost, get out, okay? That's why when I go and see the mail carrier, for example, when I see them at the box, if I'm like, okay, I kind of want to get my mail now because I know I got something in there, I'll wait. But I'm not going to be all up on them. I'm going to be a good distance away from them. And I'll wait. If I'm in my car, I'll just go and wait. Then once they pull off, that's when I'll go and drive up there. Because I don't want them feeling uncomfortable. I don't want them feeling like I'm about to go and do something to them. You know what I mean? And you have a lot of people who just don't think that. They just think, oh, I could just roll up on you. No. You could wait. You could wait. Whatever is in here is going to be in here once I leave. Okay, you can wait. It's perfectly fine. But we're just going to get into this. We're going to see some videos of people getting jacked. I mean, that just is what it is. And we'll see Mr. Louis DeJoy just be essentially hopeless as usual.
On Saturdays, your customers can receive 2-day packages from FedEx. Cost? An extra $10. On Saturdays, your customers can receive 2 to 3 day priority mail packages from the U.S. Postal Service. Cost $3, and there's no extra charge.
On Saturdays, your customers cannot receive 2-day packages from UPS. Sorry.
So, what's your priority? Priority mail from the U.S. Postal Service.
When a letter carrier is robbed, postal inspectors drop what they are doing and respond. Such was the case when a carrier was attacked by an armed robber in Newport News, Virginia. The robber forced the carrier to hand over her arrow key. Washington Division Postal Inspector Kevin Horn from the Norfolk domicile responded to the scene.
So arrow keys are used by the post office around the country. Arrow keys are prime targets by mail thieves.
The robber, later identified as Andre Billups Jr., fled with the key and used it with his partner, Johnny Riddick, to repeatedly steal mail in the area. Inspector Horn and his team began to monitor the area after numerous complaints about stolen mail. Adding agents from the ATF and the Newport News Police Department, the task force began to focus on the Hydenwood Post Office. The surveillance paid off. Billups and getaway driver Karen Omar Gary drove up to the collection box outside the Hydenwood Post Office. When he approached the collection box, a postal inspector and a Newport News police officer confronted him.
Billups jumped back up in the vehicle and he drove towards a postal inspector. The postal inspector used her service weapon, hitting Billups in the shoulder, and then the vehicle took off.
A high-speed chase ensued. Finally, in Gloucester County, law enforcement used stop sticks to disable the car. Gary was apprehended immediately. Billups fled on foot, but eventually surrendered after throwing away his handgun. A search of the vehicle turned up the stolen arrow key, Billups' rifle, ammunition, 2 magazines, and a cell phone. They also found a driver's license, debit cards, and checks with several other people's names. Riddick, Billups, and Alexis West have been engaging in check washing.
So essentially how check washing works is we have criminals that steal these checks from the mail, and essentially what they do is they use chemicals to basically take the ink off the check. And then they'll put a new payee on that check and raise the amount of the check and present it to the bank.
The mail thieves won't be spending any money from the counterfeit checks. Gary pled guilty to attempted theft of mail. He was sentenced in November to time served. West pled guilty to unlawful possession of postal keys and accessory after the fact and was sentenced to 6 months in prison. Riddick pled guilty to robbery and conspiracy to commit bank fraud. He was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. And Billups pled guilty to robbery and using a firearm in a crime of violence. Sentence, 7.5 years in prison. To report postal crime, call 877-876-2455 or visit USPS.gov.
Caught on camera, mail carriers under attack. This one in Millburn, New Jersey. 2 men not taking the mail or the carrier's wallet, but a key.
It's become a very dangerous job being a letter carrier.
Experts say the thieves want this, an arrow key.
It's like having the key to the city.
The key is special because it's what a mail carrier uses to open any mailbox in a given zip code.
It's a treasure trove for a criminal.
The thieves then able to get their hands on information to help them steal your identity.
It is a nightmare.
This woman telling WABC's investigative reporter Dan Croft that her new driver's license was taken right out of her mailbox, and with it, her identity.
Day after day, they're doing something like they're opening the bank account, they're opening a credit card.
Experts say the thieves are not just using the keys, but selling them to other criminals on the dark web. In Florida, police say the 4 suspects in this video used a stolen postal key to steal about 200 pounds of mail at an apartment complex, including credit cards and personal information, and then went on a shopping spree. The Postal Inspection Service telling ABC News that it has taken significant action to counter mail crimes. For those who are now trying to reclaim their stolen identities, they say nothing is more important than keeping your information safe.
And the Postal Service telling us they are working to phase out those old keys and replace them with electronic locks. The goal, of course, being to keep their letter carriers out of harm's way and to keep your mail safe.
And they're at it again. U.S. Postal inspectors are offering a $150,000 reward for information that leads to the arrest of at least 2 suspects who robbed a postal worker in Oakland. This happened on Euclid Avenue Thursday, and it's just the latest incident of what's now become a dangerous trend. As you can see in this video, a mail carrier is approached while walking through a gate. She said at least 2 people took her postal keys.
Over the last couple of years, she's had her keys grabbed or attempted to be grabbed a couple of times now already. The keys only have one use if you're not a United States letter carrier, and that's to steal mail.
Now, this isn't the first time this happens on that very street. Back in March, another video shows a suspect actually pulling out a weapon and demanding the postal worker's mailbox keys. And just last week, a letter carrier was robbed at gunpoint in San Carlos. The worker wasn't hurt, but pretty terrifying moments in a normally quiet neighborhood. Suspects followed the mail carrier on her route, then robbed her. We have new video showing the victim delivering mail right before the attack. About a minute later, you could see the suspect's car driving off.
Unfortunately, it's at least a weekly occurrence here in the Bay Area. We're hearing the same thing across the country. Letter carriers are just waiting for that moment when they're going to be robbed at this point. One is too many times.
It's here on Mount Hunt Drive around lunchtime, where the Harris County Precinct 4 Constable's office says these 2 men pounced as a mailman was delivering mail. Deputies say the men wore masks, and at least one of them had a gun. They took the mailman's master key, the one that accesses all of these boxes, then made a run for it. But they didn't get far. Just a mile away, deputies pulled them over and arrested them in this gas station parking lot. Their alleged crime alarming to many on this street, but far from out of the ordinary. Nationwide, 13 investigators found more than 600 postal workers were robbed last year. In many cases, the thieves took their keys, the perfect pass to come back and steal mail. In Harris County alone, 5,000 reports of mail theft last year, and the vast majority of these cases aren't being solved.
What's going on, everybody? Now, today is Sunday. I'm not at work. I'm just doing this just for the sake of this video real quick, and we're going to talk about those guys in 1 second. Now, being a mail carrier, we know we have to do with rain, sleet, snow, hail, and possible dogs, and management and other hazards that we're occurring through a daily basis. Now, recently, these guys been robbing mail carriers for these keys to get checks or whatever items they feel that they can get. Now, we're trying to make a living for our families, loved ones, ourselves, whatever the reason, you know, just like anybody else. But this is these guys allegedly got these type of guys who are threatening our livelihoods and our safety as well. I'm just telling you this to give y'all an enlightenment on what we have to do. And I know it's not just us, UPS, Amazon, any of our brethren that's out here doing this, especially around this season. Now, this happened in Northville, which is a suburb in Metro Detroit. I work in Detroit. It's about 20 minutes away. They did catch these guys over in Livonia, which is probably about 10 minutes away. But this is what we have to deal with, and all we have is spray and the bag. There is some maniacs that will pull a trigger and unalive a person after a robbery, whether they got the proceeds or not. And I'm just giving awareness on what we have to deal with. Some people say we lazy, we don't do stuff. I mean, this is just out of control. And my heart goes out to anybody that has a family member. I know in that mass shooting, I believe in Maine, it was one of us that was unalive, maybe 1 or 2 people. They're having something the 6th to give us more information. So maybe I can give y'all some more information about that. But my heart goes out to those families, and I think it was something else happening in Chicago. Not nothing with us, it's just some people is not here no more for some demonic thinking people. So without further ado, here's this. Hit a comment, hit a like, share it. Just giving awareness for your carrier. And thank y'all for watching.
Very quiet community.
Until today, when a gun was held to a postal carrier's stomach in broad daylight, according to Northville Township Police. They say 2 men in ski masks ambushed the mail carrier around 12:45 in the afternoon here at 8 Mile and Silver Spring Drive.
I keep my door open, but now I'm gonna start locking it up.
Rose Sapla nervous after the alleged robbery. She's lived near here for more than 40 years.
I'm 83 years old, by the way, but I've never heard such thing like that in here in Northville.
Police say the robbers were looking for a set of postal master keys that opened multiple types of mailboxes, allowing them to access mail in any community.
The opportunities for crime expands from there, whether it's check fraud or identity theft, things of that nature.
Deputy Chief Matthew McKenzie with Northville Township Police says shortly after the robbery, Livonia police were able to track the vehicle down. The suspects are now in custody. And inside the car,
handgun and a rifle found within the vehicle, out in plain sight.
And sadly, robbing postal carriers is starting to become a trend, according to police. Here in Taylor, we report on multiple incidents where people were holding up postal carriers and taking their master keys. And in this community, we've even had it where they've come back and started going through people's mail.
One of our neighbors came home at about midnight and noticed that somebody was in the mail kiosk and had the main door open.
Ever since, Doug Geis says, out of safety, he and his neighbors have had to go to the post office just to get their mail.
That's 45 more people that are going to the post office. That's 45 more people that are in front of you in line. So it adds to, cost, time, and efficiency.
Geis knows police will catch these brazen bad guys and is just glad nobody has been hurt so far.
I pray for the postal carrier. I hope that they are all right. Even if they weren't harmed, it's certainly